Time always is, on top of which, our awareness of time always is. There is never a time when we are not aware of time. It's though the distinction is how we view time, how we interpret what we view. When we're in the body, we interpret time as that which never ceases to change. Yet when we're out of the body, in the period of death, or interlife as some people call it, time is. There is no change. We don't grow. So when we're in the heavenly plane, in between lifespans, we experience immortality, the timelessness of our existence, the non-changing quality of our existence. But when we're in the body, it's the opposite. We experience the changes that time forces on us, whether we like it or not, and thus we experience mortality when we're alive. But when we're dead, we're immortal. And going back and forth between the two, alternating between life and death, life and death, life and death, life and, we slowly integrate the two opposites of mortality and immortality qualities of time. In other words, the immortality of changelessness, the timelessness of the eternal now, versus the mortality of the ever-changing now. We integrate those two qualities into our perspective over a long stretch of time, over many, many lifetimes, until finally we experience both at the same time, all the time. And that's when we're finished being a human. Animals can't do it, angels can't do it, rocks can't do it, plants can't do it. Only the human can alternate between the two awarenesses and have the awareness from each carried over into the next phase of each half cycle and accumulate cycle after cycle of rebirth, or redeath if you prefer to call it. And as that integrates into the perspective, into the consciousness, which the perspective is a feature or a diagnostic check of, it becomes apparent that we grow all the time, and yet we're immortal all the time, yet we change all the time, yet we don't change all the time. And so we do all of it all at once, because we've managed to integrate those two opposite qualities of time, of mortality and immortality, changelessness and changing, constant change, into our consciousness so that we do all of it at the same time, all the time. And thus we acquire a nervous system that can accommodate all those qualities, slowly, gradually, which replaces the need to use this one periodically. Or any other. Because we have a lot of different nervous systems that we use simultaneously and we don't realize it. When we're in the heavenly plane in between lifespans, we use certain nervous systems to the exclusion of others. And when we're in this mortal shell, we have access to everything, but usually we don't make use of it. We just make use of this, which is constantly changing and corrupting and getting old and whatnot, and subject to disease and failure and all kinds of things. Or success. How many people commit suicide even though they're at the top of their class, So we don't have to alternate anymore. That's the key ingredient. Through alternation, we transcend alternation. We have to go through alternation. There's no way to avoid it. The angels don't want to, but they know they have to go through it if they want to gain the status of a god, of a deity, of a supreme being capable of manifesting their own universe inside their own consciousness, or multi-universes, as easily as we think a thought. Because we already do, but we don't. But the thoughts we create are imperfect, And so they wither away, and they never die, but they just wither away and go, and they wither away to wimpiness, and they're kind of useless, because they're not perfect. Had we gained perfection, our thoughts would be perfect, and they would be beings like you and I, capable of growth into a whole new supreme being. But we're not there yet. So, anywho, that's a kind of an overview. But I like the way of putting it, because it's really, we never lose sense of times. The minute we become human, we've already gained a taste of what it's going to be like when we graduate from being a human. In other words, what it's like to be a supreme being. We've already gained a taste of that just by being human. Now we have to do more than just taste it. We have to be it. And it comes through alternation. But we are always aware of time. It's just, what quality of time are we aware of? The changing aspect or the non-changing aspect? The mortal aspect of our life or the immortal aspect of our death? We go back and forth. And so, why did Christ say, I die daily? It doesn't just say he's a loser. It doesn't just say he gives up all his possessions. No, it means he experiences the non-changing aspect of time on a daily basis. And we all do, or we should. If we want to grow, we have to alternate between the awareness of the changing, these lips moving up and down. This changes. And we have to go back and forth to give our consciousness the opportunity to integrate the two opposites. They're extremely opposite. But only through alternation between opposites do we gain integration of opposites and then transcend the need for alternation through opposites, because we've united the opposites into a fully integrated condition within our consciousness, so that we can move on to other opposites until we no longer have opposites to alternate between. Make sense? I hope so.